Live.
Called the company and said, well, you tried everything we can suggest. It's not going to work.
Talking about a design that's totally different from incandescent.
Yeah.
All right, I've got to use my phone.
Edison didn't design the LED, you know.
No. I mean, light emission out of a wire, a hot wire, is just pretty much proportional to the resistance.
Exactly right.
That's pretty
As
straightforward.
long as it's in a vacuum, it'll last for a long time.
Yeah.
And you can dim it right down to nothing.
LEDs.
Hi, John.
Yeah.
It's Holly. How are you doing?
I'm good, Holly. How are you?
Good. I don't know if you want to look at the meeting on YouTube, but it's streaming and it's under Islesboro Energy Committee, meeting 11/11/19.
Okay.
11
I'm on
high.
YouTube. I couldn't find the live. I see 2 videos you posted, but not a live one yet. But
Yeah.
I'll keep looking for that.
Okay. But everyone can hear you. And currently we have Toby Martin, Dave Petzel, Bill Thomas, Janice Petzel, and Dick DeGrasse, and me.
Great. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Dave.
Hey, John.
Hello, John. Okay.
Hi, John. How's it going?
Yeah, if you can see
Oh,
us.
well.
I don't know if you guys can.
Oh, hi. I'm gonna have my back to you.
We need to reorient.
So, I don't know how this is going to work. I guess we're going to have to ask if you're attending the meeting, John, but you're doing it virtually. I don't know. We're in a new era now because we're supposed to. I'm supposed to call to order the meeting, so I'm calling the meeting to order. I believe it's like 5:07, and we need to establish a quorum, which looks like we've done.
Yep.
And the next business is to approve the previous meeting's minutes. I move to approve them.
I second.
Any discussion?
Second doesn't matter. Go ahead.
Okay.
I think you did.
So we're voting to approve the previous meeting's minutes.
Any changes that need to be done? Any corrections?
None that I saw. So,
I'd like to make a suggestion for people like me
okay.
who may store minutes someplace and forget about it till the very last second. Is there a way you could forward the last minutes just prior to each meeting so that we
I
can
did
check
it
them out?
today.
did that.
I
And
did
Okay.
it today.
we can have them up on the Google site.
Yeah.
We just haven't resolved that we're going to use it routinely. That's all.
Oh,
If we do,
okay.
then we can have everything there.
All right.
Yeah. So Janice did send them to you before the meeting, but you were at work, so
Oh,
you probably didn't have a chance to look
Okay.
at them.
so I guess by default, I'm approving.
Okay.
You know, I don't say that with 100% accuracy.
But I think,
Solar.
didn't you send?
I sent them out right after the last meeting.
Yeah, so they were available to you, Toby.
Yep, I sent them out like 2 minutes after the last meeting.
You sent them out the day you did them,
Yes,
That
I
was
remember
right
that.
after the last meeting.
yeah. But I didn't, that they fade after that period of time. So
Do you print them out when you get them?
she got them to me when I received them.
Holly asked if you print them so that you have a hard copy.
Oh, well, I have them on disc, I'm sure.
Okay, so you don't print them out, so you have a hard copy.
But what I'm saying is, it would be handy to have them available even so.
So you
By
want them,
whatever he's saying, if I could access that, that would be great.
okay. So I guess we need to vote and approve them?
Sure.
All approving, say aye.
Aye.
Previous meeting minutes are approved. Woohoo. The next thing on the agenda is I want to make sure that we're ready for the public meeting on the PPA for the salt shed solar install on 11/20/19. And I think, Dave, didn't you send the PPA around so we could look at it?
Yeah, he did. That was a couple weeks ago too.
Yeah. So are you going to be presenting it? And this is, no, who's presenting it? This
The
is why I'm
select board-
asking.
The select board is.
Okay, so they're presenting it to the townspeople.
Right.
Okay.
Is
But you're
Andrew
gonna
Carl
answer
gonna be there?
questions, right?
I don't think so.
Dave?
Yeah, I can
You'll be
answer,
the answer man if
I
it
can
comes
answer
up.
questions, but I'm not presenting it.
Okay.
And are they going for the combined salt shed and transfer station model, or are they going for the two sides of the shed roof model?
Two sides of the shed roof.
I think that's a very bad mistake from my personal experience with our solar panels. Low, facing east-west, you're gonna get less than optimal response from those. You're not gonna get your money's worth. I
It's
don't
funny,
care.
because we have it that way and we have no trouble. We have it east-west on our house and we have no trouble.
Okay, good. Good. It's not optimal.
It's not the same sun, yours is different.
It's not optimal.
The rule of thumb is pretty simple. South, plus or minus 5 degrees of the latitude. We have 44 degrees north, plus a little.
Yep.
Here. So you're talking about 40 degrees to 50 degrees exposure south. Optimum for solar.
I mean, the problem is I can see exactly how our east-facing panels perform relative to the south.
But you can tip them up. I'm not saying you can't have east and have them tipped.
Yeah.
As long as the panel's facing south. Or
Yeah.
thereabouts.
Anyway, I think they'll yield less wattage over time than they are rated for.
Was there any comment when revision was here about what they would expect us to get from those panels? Any amount of energy, because of the way that
Yeah,
they're
it's in
facing?
the PPA.
Okay, all right.
And their recommendation was that we do the two-sided approach.
Right.
Yep. So,
Because
yeah.
of the problem with snow coming off the transfer
Right.
station.
But I think Jim and I talked about alternative approaches to that were less, that cut into our productivity less.
Well, the time to bring this up was like before the select board meeting.
Okay, never mind. I take back everything I said about that.
I mean,
It's just a poor design, that's all. All right, I'll stop talking about it.
well, I mean, it's not up yet, so if it's really gonna bother you, I guess we should talk about it, but
I'll call
But-
revision and ask them about this, just for my own personal curiosity. And if I find anything that supports what I say, I'll let you all know.
You could call Andrew, he's the guy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I called Evergreen and left a message. Well, wait a minute. Can I move on? This is kind of an aside, but I just wanted to say that I called Evergreen, left a message for Brian to get back to me about the blower test, and I haven't heard anything from him. So I don't know what's going on.
Slow.
Brian is slow, and what I found to be the most, I have called him since our last meeting. And I've talked to him about our things. I didn't ask him about the town information
Did you talk to him personally? Like you
by email.
called?
I didn't
Okay.
talk to him. I emailed him and got a response directly from him. But if you don't get a response from him quickly, the thing to do is to call and talk to another one of the presidents or vice presidents there and leave a message through them. And he responds very quickly after that.
Okay.
What's
So
the
they
name of
kind
the
of
woman
light
who
a
works with
fire
him?
under him.
Do you remember? She's very responsive, based on my experience.
Yeah, I can't remember. I have
Who?
I don't know what her name is.
I have the
She's
opposite.
like the,
SB Sala?
I don't know.
Okay.
I have the opposite response that when I talk to somebody else, it just seems to go into a black hole.
Okay. All right, so you're going to be there to answer questions, Dave, and the select board is going to present it to the townspeople. All right. Any other questions, comments? I wasn't real sure. And along with everything that's going on, I just wanted to make sure that I knew what was going on because I didn't feel real comfortable with my understanding of what the process was. So the next thing that I have on the agenda is discussion on setting up subcommittees. And this came from something that Dave told me in the last meeting and an email that Toby sent to me regarding who's responsible for what and tracking it. So I just wrote down a couple of notes and wanted to have a discussion on having subcommittees for solar energy efficiency, like who's going to be monitoring it, lighting, who's handling membership, bringing new members on board, electric vehicles, anything else we can think of, along with possibly a spreadsheet for tracking that progress.
Could I ask, not necessarily in order, what's the idea about membership?
That's what I was gonna ask too. What is the impetus to increasing the size of the committee?
Well, I don't want to increase it hugely, but I think that we need to get some more ideas, not ideas, but different perspectives. I think we're all basically of a similar mind, and I think it would be helpful to us if somebody else had a different perspective, other ideas. I don't know if you have any ideas, John. You still there?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know that we want to make it a huge committee, but I think it would be helpful because we were talking about possibly having a student or two join.
Well, the committee, as it was originally established, has a 9-member limit,
Okay,
so you can go up to 9.
okay,
And
so
we have lost Jim.
we've lost Jim.
And it would be great to have, I mean, now that John's interested, to have the connection with the school. That's really important, I think.
Abby and Ava were the two students who expressed an interest in doing this last year.
What are they doing now? Are they in school? or-
They're seniors this year.
Okay,
Who was it, Bill?
Abby and Ava.
Okay, yeah. I can check with them and see if they're still interested in doing that.
okay. So that would be the 9 right there.
The new people coming in, do we have to have the select board okay them, or what's the process for that? I don't remember how we
I don't
do it,
remember either. I think
I think that the select board has to approve.
but I think all you have to do is
We recommend.
we recommend,
Yeah.
and then it goes, okay.
I would like to make sure that we have sort of a review process before we go anywhere with it, because like almost an informal interview, to try to make sure that the group as a whole, the committee as a whole, gets to know the person who might be a candidate, rather than have it be a shoo-in, obvious decision based on one person's point of view. That would allow us to do what you were suggesting, that we get diversity. So I would like to have the formal approach where somebody makes a suggestion, we invite that person to come and state their case. Bill did a great job when he became a member. And I remember talking to Bill about his interests and whatnot, and I said, come and join the meeting. And you talked about yourself, you explained your interests, and that did it. I think everybody thought it was great.
Can I raise another issue? With John, we're 7. If the 2 students came on, that would be 9 right away, and that would eliminate the possibility for yet another community member with the alternative perspectives that you're talking about. So I wonder, under the circumstances, John, you would be able to help us evaluate this better. My guess is that the students are not going to have a great deal of time to commit to the meeting's activities in the long term. I'm wondering if it would make sense for them to share a position.
or one be an alternate.
Yeah.
Yeah, or, I mean, there is the sustainability committee at school, and so if it's either alternate between those 2, or, I mean, maybe, yeah, I don't know, or another student who's on that committee, and even a younger student, maybe.
Yeah, if we had 2, you'd want one younger and one older so that the younger one could pick up the baton after the older had graduated.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the other opportunity might be that your sustainability team. Is that what you're calling it now, John?
I think at school, I think they're calling it an energy, no, they call it the sustainability committee.
But whatever you're calling it, the group as a whole could act as a whole. And it doesn't need to be one person, it can be the group, in my opinion.
Okay.
And then that person or those members could be the equivalent of an alternate or whatever position or name we want to give it, but still give them credibility and involvement, which I think is the main thing, because I think it's very hard with student involvement in what's going on in school for them to be consistent the way we can be consistent.
Yeah.
The transportation, sports, drama programs, all that kind of thing is a huge amount of responsibility for their curriculum and extracurricular activities. So to be able to get them involved at all, I think is a huge plus. So how would you handle that, John?
I mean, it is something where it is okay to just make sure that at each meeting, that I have found a representative to come, and that it's okay with you as a group that it's more, it could be from, more than just two people I'm selecting, and I can see that works well. They're meeting once or twice a week during lunch at school, so there's lots of opportunity for any ideas from your committee to go back to them for discussion, and so that any student who came, to your meeting would have context and understanding of, what it is they're bringing to that meeting that week or that month. I don't know how often you're meeting, but so if that was something that you all were comfortable with, I can see that would work well.
So you're thinking having one student acting as a liaison between us and their group?
Yeah, kind of a bridge between the two.
Right.
And that could be a rotating individual. Well, not a rotate. That position could rotate.
Yeah, I mean, probably it'd be better to have it be like some consistency in there, but if something came up, then there would be other people around who could
Right.
fill in.
So maybe there's one person from the group that would try to be the consistent liaison, and then, like you said, have an alternate if that person can't come to the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another point that I'd bring up would be that kids should feel that they have an opportunity to be either the chief or the substitute chief in that process, so that they don't get left out of the opportunity.
I don't know what you mean by
I
that.
don't know what you mean.
But
by
what that
that.
means is that as kids come through the school, they have a way of participating fully without losing out on the opportunity to be the leader.
So
I'm
would
still not
that
sure
be-
I follow you, Toby.
Yeah. Would that be decided within their group at the school?
Right, that's
Yeah.
kind of what they need
I
to
mean, they
do.
could do it
That's on
quarterly
them.
or
Yeah.
however they want to do it.
Yeah, that would be on them. So this could be me making a mistake, but I'm looking at all these names, and like Scott is an alternate, but he's never been to any of the meetings that I've been to.
No.
Is he considered one of the 9?
I don't know what that's all about. I don't even understand why he's on the list.
He was on the list because we had issues in this building and we could use his electrical expertise.
But why is he on the list?
Should he be is he a member of the committee?
I don't know what alternate means. I don't know the bylaws of the committees well enough to know what that means for us.
Okay.
Did he ever get approved as being
No.
on the committee by the select board? So he's more of an electrical advisor.
Okay.
I'd
So
say-
alternate
I'd say-
maybe doesn't apply to him, just electrical advisor.
My feeling is
Yeah.
he's not a member of the committee, so he doesn't belong here and on the list. But we can call on him when we need him. What's wrong with that?
Okay.
When I put that list up, when I sent things out to you guys earlier, I simply copied what Jim
Right.
sent to us.
And I copied what you had, just
Yeah.
so there was some consistency.
Does Scott know about that position?
I don't know. I've never had a
Yes.
conversation with him.
Yes, he does.
Does he? How do you feel about that?
I think it's great.
I mean, which one do you feel about?
Well, that he's an alternate and that he's an electrical advisor.
But it raises the question, if he's going to be either or both of those, it would make sense for him to be here at least sometime. So we have the benefit of his expertise or his perspective.
I would,
Otherwise, he's just a name on a sheet.
I would prefer to get rid of the alternate and just put electric advisor on there.
I think Jim had
Do we
talked
need
to him, Jim had talked to him that we would ask him when we needed advice, that he would be able to provide that advice to us.
Okay,
So that's like an advisor.
And I would look into the town of Islesboro committee structure, whether is room for alternates.
Well,
In
we've
addition
had
to the-
alternates the whole time the committee's been functional. I just don't know what that means.
would Janet know that?
I think
Yes.
what an alternate means is that when it comes to a vote, if there's an alternate present who's taking the position of a regular member, that person's role.
Then that person is a member of the committee. In that case, if he is indeed an alternate, he is a member of the committee.
But what I'm saying is I'm not sure the select
No,
board
the-
ever
no.
made him an official, oh, go ahead.
I was an alternate in the Board of Appeals, but I had no voting rights.
Uh-huh.
But that's not the way the alternates on here work. It's exactly what we just said. An alternate could vote if somebody else were absent.
So they
At
would,
least that's
they
what we
would
understand
help
it.
make up the quorum.
So here, isn't this Scott? Isn't that he right there?
Yep.
Yep, so this is a meeting, this was last June, Jim, right here, talking to Scott.
Oh, I
And it
got
must
you.
have been in one of these conversations like this that he worked out the arrangements
I
with Scott.
don't believe that was at a meeting. I think that was before a meeting.
Yeah, this wasn't,
Yeah, he was advising Jim.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
yeah, I didn't mean, when I said meeting, I don't mean an official meeting. He was here at this table talking with Scott when we were evaluating the building.
All right, well, I'm gonna ask Janet about the committee structure, so I understand it and can figure out where, how many people would be considered part of the committee, so we know what spaces we're looking at. And we still have to find out about Shay, because Phil said that he would take her place, but I don't know what's going on with Phil, so. Maybe that's something I have to talk to the select board about.
Was Phil gonna talk to her about that?
I think he was.
And you don't know what happened,
No,
if anything?
because I think he went off island and I didn't have a chance to talk to him. So,
Well, I think, here's my slant on it. I
Mhm.
take Sandy as the model. Sandy came to absolutely every meeting
okay,
and participated fully in everything. She always looked at the minutes. She knew what was going on. And I don't see that happening with Shay for whatever reason.
well,
So-
I still need to go back to Phil, because if he was going to pursue it, I need to find out what his conclusions were.
I was
But-
thinking exactly what Toby said. I didn't speak up. That's exactly what I was thinking.
I agree with you, but I still want to find out what Phil was,
I think
had in mind.
I think part of the problem is the way the board operates. They appoint people and it's almost, I think some of the positions may even be by default. There's one left and you haven't done anything yet, so you get it, that kind of thing.
I get
That's
it,
not good.
I get it, but still,
Okay.
I want to find out what Phil knows. But
Yeah,
I
okay.
want to get back to discussing setting up subcommittees like you were talking about in your email, like what direction are we going in? And Dave was talking about, having different committees. And Dick, you voiced something as well when you came in. You wanted to know what direction we were heading, what other projects we had on the table. So,
Well, I can tell you that strikes me as right because that was my original goal when I was the chair at the beginning of this thing.
what strikes you as right?
And my thought was that everybody should have a responsibility
Okay,
and report on it regularly, and maybe even a second responsibility, and work with another person on a project, whatever that would be.
so what,
We have to outline what those things are.
right, so I guess what we need to discuss is what committees we've got going on here. So we've got solar energy efficiency, which I guess is monitoring the solar panels.
I think my idea, there's a comma after solar.
Oh, okay, solar energy efficiency. You're right. I had two different categories.
So that's basically what Dave's been doing.
Right.
So solar is pretty straightforward. It's the solar panels. What is energy efficiency? And that's pretty broad.
That-
What does that encompass?
That, I think I just threw that out there, but I was thinking about this building and somebody following up on the work being done and what an impact the insulation we were putting in was having on the
Well,
bills.
I was going to I would like to offer a different perspective, and that is for the next year, our primary task is to shepherd the work on this building.
Mhm.
And that's the primary job of the committee, I would say. And I mean, that fulfills in essence the mandate we were given. If we spread it to the other town buildings, that really is the core of what we've been asked to do.
Okay.
So then the question becomes, once that is well initiated or underway, what are the new tasks that we really want? We've talked very broadly about other possibilities, but what are the tasks we really want to sink our teeth into?
Mhm.
So I think our work in the next 6 months at any rate is very straightforward. We shepherd this building's work as well as we can.
Okay.
Then what?
We've got 3 buildings, and we've got all the power resources that are coming from the solar that are supposed to offset 100% if it works right and the efficiency works right. Right?
Was
So-
it 100 or was it 97?
The question I have for you, and you would know the answer, and are the streetlights included in that? Or are they outside of it, the 100% power?
You know, I don't know the answer to that, but they haven't changed them over yet. And honestly, I don't think that the streetlights are connected to the solar. I think that they are. When we were looking at the bills, we were looking at strictly the amount of energy usage that they pulled as opposed to the old streetlights. And if everything remained the same, there would be a savings of $3,500 a year to the
Well,
town.
My point when I brought that up was that we have an energy supply that we're
Mhm.
developing. We have an energy draw that
Mhm,
the town consumes.
mhm.
They should be zero when that process is over. So my thought is the streetlights belong there. And how do we calculate that in our power generation process?
Well, the streetlights are on a meter that the town pays for.
Right. But
So
I
they're-
thought the solar had to do with this building.
Well,
Well, the solar, any extra solar that we create covers any of the meters that the town has.
Okay, so,
but are the lights on the meter, a meter?
Well, they have to be, we pay.
We pay CMP for the lights. So
Okay.
one way or the other, that's a deficit to
So
CMP.
my theory is that they should be part of the package. And we should include that in the generation that we're creating from solar.
But
Well,
they would be.
I think we
Okay.
are.
Yeah, they would be.
All right.
They
that's-
would be. I
that was
mean,
the question.
CMP, I mean, we can verify that, but we
Okay.
pay CMP for our electricity.
Okay.
And they can tell us what we paid for. But
Right.
if we have a lot of credits in one account, it's got to work.
It
for our
rolls
benefit.
over to the other meters.
Does
And
it
if it doesn't,
definitely
we
roll
just
over?
work
Yep.
that out. I mean,
Yep.
that's got to be straightforward.
Yep. Andrew Carl,
You know, we made a list at the very beginning. I just can't remember if they were on the list.
well, according to Andrew Carl at the PPA discussion 2 weeks ago, he said that between these solar panels and the solar panels that will
go on the solar.
likely go on the shed, it will get us to 97% roughly of
The town's energy.
the town's energy usage a year.
Hmm.
You know, obviously, we're gonna make less in the winter and more in the summer, but your credits roll over and, you know, your credits apply to times when you make less, so, and that's every meter that the town has, 97% of what
Okay.
the town is using.
I said something before, I'm going to take back a little of what I said, that our primary task is to shepherd what Evergreen is going to do to tighten up the building. There is another, I think, related but independent project, and that is our billing rate. Our billing rate is determined by our peak use. And we have an analysis to do to figure out what dictates that peak use and to determine ways of using the building, using our electrical draw to diminish our rate. That would be complementary to some of the other things we're doing, but I think it's independent of it. It's going to take a different analysis.
Do you know what rate structure we're on? for the
I
building?
don't.
You do that, and I have it. I have all the rates for CMP.
But what we need to do is figure out why we're on that particular rate.
Usually there's a reason for that.
Yeah,
And it's usually the consumption and the type of consumption.
Right.
We aren't three-phase here,
We're
I think it's
middle-
single-phase.
Middle use.
and,
I
and
think I'll
changing
put it
that
down.
rate won't actually change the amount of electricity we'll use. It'll just keep us from paying so much and.
Yeah, it'll diminish
using it
what
all
we
at
pay
once.
for that
Right.
electricity,
But
right?
it
It'll
won't-
reduce
won't-
our cost,
It'll
basically.
reduce the cost, but it won't
Right.
reduce the amount we use, but
And-
still, it saves money.
Yeah, the question is, can we alter our behavior in some way or another to diminish the peak rate against which we're
The answer
measuring?
is likely.
Sorry?
The answer is likely we
Yes.
can.
Yeah.
'Cause
That's
there's a
what I'm
lot of-
hoping.
There's a lot of deferrable loads in this building, I would guess. I don't know. I've
Yeah.
not looked at them.
But that's just it. It's going to take an analysis. So I think that's a project in and of itself.
Okay. Did you say something, John?
I was gonna say, when I used to do a lot of furniture working, that sometimes that peak rate was also dependent on what time of day your roads were heaviest. So that might be
Yeah.
something too.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to talk about,
And
yes.
CMP can tell, CMP already told us that. It's the morning. I mean, I think, isn't that right, Dave, when we talked to her? It's the morning when everybody comes in and turns on the coffee maker and the
So-
computers and the printers and the flushes the toilets and.
So can we, it's a behavioral analysis. It's who's doing what when in the day, and then the answer, the solution would be to alter that behavior. So, Dick, it may not be as easy as we think. Changing behaviors is not straightforward.
So we have to change people's work schedule.
Yes, or maybe not even their work schedule, maybe other things like when you get coffee during the day or something like when you turn on the coffee maker.
Yeah,
So we have to, we don't know enough to know really what's causing the peak. At least I don't know enough. I would say we have to figure that out and then we strategize about what to do about it.
Okay.
So it's the delivery charge that we're looking at. And we're an MSA, secondary. Can you find the delivery charge? Did you see the delivery charge, Dick?
Dick?
Well,
You see the delivery
that's how
charge?
we're
$19.52.
Yes, but
That's
the
a
delivery charge is the one that we,
Did you say 52?
Cents, 52
$19,
cents.
and that's the delivery charge for three-phase service apparently. Service charge.
Well, that-
that varies.
That's a month, right?
Yeah, that's not much at all.
Where's that?
It's a three-phase service here. I didn't know that.
Where's that?
It's on the front page.
Delivery charge.
that's right, because we can make solar power till the cows come home, but if that peak
Hmm.
load, they're gonna charge you that.
Well, the reason I suggested that we have energy efficiency and solar is because one is producing electricity and one is
Using it.
is making it more efficient, the use of the electricity. So that's why I think there should be two committees.
Okay.
Electrical vehicles are another committee that I think we're facing with the Board of Appeals. Board of Selectmen, they requested that we make a report at the last meeting. And lighting has to do with lighting in this building and across all the other buildings.
But that would fall under energy efficiency, wouldn't it?
Mhm.
In other words, I think energy efficiency covers about 80% of what the committee is ultimately going to be doing.
Well, and that's kind of why I
Well,
was
that's-
breaking it down so that there would be, because you're right, it's a huge topic and I think it needs to be broken down a little bit more.
So we could take it as a large unit and break it down into parts and each person could have a part.
We can start that way and find out where it goes.
Do you think using a spreadsheet to track, would have to determine what would be progress? And then each committee would need a spreadsheet to look, or something similar, some way of tracking what's going on.
We could do
Does that
that.
sound reasonable?
However, we have the minutes and we have each person's assignment. I'm not arguing against
No,
using a
I'm-
spreadsheet, but we're not a big committee. And we
Right.
have each person gets an assignment at the end of a meeting, and so we have a month to implement that.
Okay.
I mean, we could put that in the spreadsheet pretty easily. Yes, no, at the end of the month, I guess.
Well, I'm I'm not for or against it. I just know that a lot of people use them, and I don't know if some people feel more comfortable with spreadsheets and other people feel less comfortable with spreadsheets. So that's why I was asking.
I think from my insight, I like a personal responsibility, know that it's mine. Yeah, but I don't want to think of it as exclusively mine. So, the question is who does what task? And then we get into a routine where we report at each meeting
Okay.
about what's been going on and what we've accomplished, questions we have, whatever it may be.
So you're saying, Bill, that we could put in the agenda each topic and who's responsible to, and Toby, you'd say, you know, they would supply a minute or 2 minute report and that would go into the minutes. Okay.
And if people wanted to send me a report before the meeting to put into the minutes, I could certainly do that.
Okay. Do I need to make a motion or anything that we're going to agree to do that? I'm still not clear on this.
Why don't we just give it a try and see how it
We
works?
Okay.
This
could.
is more of a policy thing, I think, than a, I mean, it's not like we're.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of are doing this anyway, because
Right.
we
Yeah,
we
that's
just
right.
have so
Can I
We
few
look at
just
that
wanna-
page
people,
for a
each
second?
person is their own little committee, more or less.
Mental
I gave you
spreadsheet.
another one, Dick, just in case.
All right.
Like, my most recent responsibility has been transportation. Specifically, the stuff that's going on with the student bus transportation. I'm getting absolutely nothing after repeated attempts from the magnet coordinator and the guy who runs the program in Belfast.
Oh, okay.
That's thousands of emails, you know, just constantly hammering away, getting nothing.
Thousands? My
No.
goodness, you've been busy.
So,
I'm a
So,
little
what do you-
hyperbolic, but so a lot of effort has gone into trying to get feedback, find out what's happening, how many riders there are, how many people are using it. So I think I have to take another tack.
this is the Waldo County,
Excuse me.
it's the Waldo County Transportation?
WCAP, specifically the whatever it's called,
I mean, I can try to find out some other information. I can say that one, if you want to have anecdotal evidence, it's a little challenging that it's not consistent at the
Yeah.
end of the day. And sometimes
John, what I need to know
from
What I need
start.
to know is how many kids are using it, how often, what days, whether it's dependent on their activity schedule, whether they're just using it in the morning but not in the afternoon, that kind of thing.
So,
Okay.
And then finding out how Waldo County Transportation feels about committing to it, because they said they'd do it, and they initiated it 2 years ago, and the follow-through's been terrible.
We'll do what though, Todd? They said they do
what
what?
are they doing? Yeah, what were they supposed to be doing? What did they commit to do?
Oh, God,
Waldo.
Waldo County. They are supposed to, among other things, try to find out exactly how effective it is in their system as part of their routine for trying to plan public transportation for their clients.
So are you saying they were trying to figure out the viability of running a bus route?
They already did it. It goes every morning and every afternoon between Belfast
So
and,
why,
and the ferry.
so, I'm sorry, Janice.
Well, no, I think you and I are asking the same question.
Why, if they're already doing it, why are we asking them for the additional
Because we want to
information?
know how they view it, how effective it is for the kids.
So are you asking them if it's a viable service?
I'm not only asking that, just in terms of providing the service, but I'm also asking something that they even suggest themselves, that it might be a good idea to think about doing a midday.
That's
Oh,
what I
so
was
you're,
trying to
all
get
right,
to.
so you're
Yes,
asking
yes.
if they're going to expand it.
No, I'm asking you how to improve it.
Right, it's the
You-
same thing, it's the same, improve, expand, more runs. People aren't going to use it if they're going to go off island in the morning and they can't come back till the end of the day. And if we don't have a midday run, people are not going to use that bus in any way to expand their
Yeah. The
circulation.
question is, will they take the risk and schedule it?
That's all we're trying to get to, right? That's where we're going next.
And I've already asked that question.
What did they
Did-
say?
Nothing.
Did you have a question,
They said,
John?
that's a good idea, and that's where it stopped.
Well, no, because it sounds like maybe actually the real question is separate from the students. It really is that
Yeah.
question there about
So,
midday transportation.
Right.
John, what we have is we've got students in the morning and the afternoon. Whether that matches their schedule or not, that's one question. The other one is, what about the rest of the people? The workers who come to and from the island and may not want to drive their cars, they might want to take the bus instead. Or anybody else who is a half day or full day visitor to Belfast.
What, Bill?
John, may I ask you a question? Are there any students who routinely or even occasionally come to school at midday or leave school at midday for the rest of the day?
Yeah, you have to hold the phone closer to you though, because it's cutting out.
I'm sorry. What I'm trying to figure out is whether there are any students who either come to the island or leave the island midday, and if so, with what frequency does that happen?
I mean, there's always doctor's appointments, so for that, it's pretty, I mean, I would say frequency probably, every day, but it's hard to say that they're all going to Belfast. They should be going all over the place.
But you say that there would be someone doing that almost every day? One student maybe doing that every day?
Yeah, especially, we have kids right now that are doing driver's ed. They're coming over back over at the 1:30.
Uh-huh.
Something, or 2:30, maybe it's not the 1:30. And then, yeah, doing every day, there's probably someone coming back over.
Hey, John, do you think you could put together some kind of a form that would track this?
I can talk to Melissa about that, yeah.
Okay.
Give it to your group of kids to create the form.
Okay. So just to move on a little bit. So John, I'm sorry, Bill.
I wanted to ask you, because you
Okay.
work at the ferry. I was just thinking, I
You
could go
can just
down to
leave
the
it.
ferry and listen. I mean, look, but you're there often. Do you notice people taking the Quicksilver, for example, or taking a ferry, walking on midday, roughly midday? The question is, can we provide them with data that we've collected that say, here is a normal level of use, a baseline level of use? Would you consider this enough to warrant a trial? If not, how many more people would you require in order to try this? In other words, get some sense for how close we are to having a midday bus possibility.
My gut reaction, walk-ons, no. Walk-ons will not support that service. Possibly people that are driving off and on might, but the only way that I'm going to find out is if I ask them. And right now, I'd have to ask them because I don't know if they're all going to Belfast. A lot of them go in the other direction. I see them when they pull off the,
Well, the bus does go to Rockland too, doesn't it? It goes all the way up and down, doesn't it? Toby, the bus goes all the way from Belfast to Rockland, right?
no,
Not
it just goes from Belfast.
that run.
No.
There's another run.
Yeah,
I don't believe it stops at the ferry.
But there is a bus that goes all the way to Rockland.
right, but it's different.
But I don't believe it stops at the ferry. I
No.
don't think it does.
No, it's just the Belfast one, I think it does.
You've got that sort of little link that's between the two towns, between us and them. And then you've got the big one that goes between Belfast and Rockland with the town circular programs that keep rotating and rotating and rotating.
Honestly, what I've seen at the ferry, 12:30 leaving Islesboro is mostly contractors. And what they're pulling off is big equipment. So they're not going to be using the bus.
Not going to be using a bus. Yeah.
No, they need their trucks and everything off the island or coming back on the island.
But you don't know if that's every day or some days.
Well, right now it's just an impression, right?
Yeah,
I mean, the
that's
first
my
time we've asked you this
impression.
question.
When I come back from lunch and I'm looking at the 12:30 run, it's mostly contractors, big vehicles. They're not going to be using the bus. The 130 is almost, there are not that many people. So I honestly, if I was running a bus service, I would say it's not a viable option,
Well,
unfortunately.
the problem is it's a chicken or the egg thing now.
Right,
I mean, right
What does it
now,
take?
yeah,
they're not, the service isn't there, so you're not gonna take yourself to Belfast and get yourself stuck there.
For a whole
It's not
day,
here
right?
for a whole
Right.
day.
Yeah.
So it's a chicken and the egg thing right
Yeah.
now.
So there are people who take it just for medical reasons, but that's a special call.
Yeah.
So we're
And
floundering. We don't have
yeah.
data.
we really don't have data, and I think that maybe that's why they haven't answered you, Toby, because they don't have data either. But moving on, so we're gonna make an effort to, who's responsible for what? I guess that's what I want to come up with, the subcommittees. Like, it sounds like one person's gonna be a subcommittee. So who's looking at solar and tracking the solar usage or efficiency, I guess, for the town? Is that you, Dave?
Yeah, I'll take care of that.
Okay, and then energy efficiency, I know it's a big subject right now, but it would right now entail this town office. Would that be
I'm
you?
willing to work with Brian to
Okay.
keep on top of what's happening there.
Okay,
I told him that Jim was sick. I haven't told him that Jim died yet. So,
okay.
But you're kind of an energy expert in your own right, correct?
I'm not an expert on anything.
I mean, you're the most expert person in this group, I think.
I'm willing to help with this project,
Okay.
expertise aside.
I'm still staying on top of Tammy about getting all the LEDs done on
Right.
this, because my fear is they're gonna do some of it and then it's just going to kind of,
It would not be practical for them to do just some of it. I mean, why would they bring their equipment over here to do that? Let's make sure they get it all done.
yeah, that's why I would like to stay on top of Tamara to stay
One,
on top of the LED lighting right now.
one thing that I've been thinking about a lot has been Brian's evaluation of the space renovation for efficiency, right? That does not include equipment, am I correct? Like burners and,
It's not in the first round of work. The rationale, just to remind everyone, the rationale was to get the greatest bang for the buck early on so that we can go to the community and say, look, here's the benefit of your investment thus far.
Right.
So we're not thinking about buying heat pumps or new furnace or anything like that.
Okay.
It's first plug the leaks and insulate where we can easily. For example, we're not going into these walls to insulate these walls. That would be a good idea, but it's costly. So
does he or has he told you, or do you know whether there is an efficiency goal that he's shooting for and can,
at this point, I
I don't know,
don't think there is
guarantee.
a fixed goal because there are many things to do and we're grabbing the low hanging fruit. I think the idea is let's do this and let's do a blower torque test again and find out where we stand.
so what about us? Can we come up with a figure? Like, we're looking for 80% improvement in the X number of years? Is that
Well, I
realistic?
guess we could. I mean, I don't know what that would mean right now. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess we could, but I'm not sure how to formulate that, and I don't know how practical that would be.
Well, you take whatever data you can collect and then you judge it later.
So do we have a baseline right now on what we're
There was a
using?
blower door test, and we know how leaky the building is, and we
Okay.
know what the goal. We know. Okay, so there is a standard. To answer your question, at 50 pascals, there is a standard for air exchange in a building. We're a long way from that standard.
Okay,
So I think this first round of work is not going to bring us. It's going to bring us closer, but it's not going to bring us in proximity to that standard. So
But
we have a
we'll-
lot that we can do down the
So
road.
once we get that first initial stage over with, will we have a blower test to show us how much we,
yes.
We will. I have talked with Brian about that. I will stay on top of him about that. I think it's standard for their work, but if he's not going to do it, I will ask him repeatedly for an intermediate test so we can evaluate where we are.
because I think one of the things that we as a committee have to do is validate our work. And one of the ways we do that is by having that kind of.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And another way to do that, we have a fuel bill. We have several years of fuel bills. we will now have another year or two of fuel bills. We'll be able to see whether there's any significant decrease in the fuel we use.
Usage.
Yeah.
That's great, because I know I talked to, what's his face, who's the guy who does the plant at the school? John, help me.
Who does the,
Dick Silly.
Dick Silly?
Dick, yeah. Dick said when the school was renovated, they just totally worked
Okay,
on the energy system, and now they cut way back on their fuel consumption.
Yeah.
That's
so
all
that's
it
what,
was.
that's
That's-
what we're
that's our
gonna be
plan.
looking at, but we
That's
won't know that until,
Yeah.
all right.
Well, can I?
yeah.
You and I have actually been talking about writing a spark grant. You know,
Yeah.
we got that report from,
Evergreen.
Evergreen. And Holly and I had started writing these grants. It's kind of on my plate. I'm the weakest link with the paperwork, but I think we should be under the Energy Efficiency Committee with that, because we're writing the grant for LED lights for in here. You can do 2 a year
For that
And-
spark grant.
for the
Right.
spark grants. And we had a phone meeting with Island
Andrew?
Institute people, and they actually suggested that we go for, they were really excited about the idea of us getting a heat pump for the
The apartment.
the
Apartment upstairs.
apartment upstairs. But the Evergreen report really lays out nicely the, like about $4,000 worth of
Mhm.
insulation and all that. So, I mean, I guess we could do the LED lights third instead of second and go for, so, I mean, we are thinking of buying a heat pump.
Mhm.
But I think that would fall under the Energy Efficiency Committee.
Mhm.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
That was my point before.
Right.
That energy efficiency is really the meat of what we're going to be doing for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
So I see it as maybe a behemoth of a committee.
All right, that makes sense. So we'll include that. And then I'm going to talk to Janet about the committee structure. So I've got that straight. And that would have to do with membership and how many people are on the committee and that sort of thing.
And I suggested we get Sue Stafford somehow connected with the committee. Because Sue Stafford, she's connected with Mothers Out Front, which is Climate Change Now.
Which group is
Where
that?
is she?
Sue
She's a,
Stafford,
she's a,
Is she on the island?
yeah.
Yeah.
She's not a year-round person. They go back to,
she lives in Cambridge,
Cambridge.
Massachusetts. That's where she works out of. She is,
She's the secretary of IIT, right? She's on their board.
Well, let Dave tell us.
and so they have a chapter in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and she's active in that. And she's very interested in working with our committee, either being an alternate or maybe joining the committee.
Okay.
And the fact that we could start a chapter here, and it's Mothers Out Front, but but the officers are all women, but it doesn't mean that members can't be, or supporting staff can't be the other sex.
Okay.
I haven't wrapped my head yet around exactly what her group does. Can you help develop that one?
it's fighting for action for climate change. So they protest things. So I don't think having the mothers up front would be a goal of our group. That's a separate thing. I don't think the energy committee should be doing that.
Right.
But
But
she
she
would
has
be a good
but she
source
has-
of,
she has a lot, she
connections and expertise.
yeah, and in the bigger world of who's doing what.
okay, so anything else you want to add?
I have two.
Okay,
I think one, we ought to have, I don't know, well, two, 1.5 merged, I'm not sure, but communications. And under the aegis of communications, there is the elephant in the room of this webpage. I want to know what to do with the webpage. I'm having a hard time getting motivated under the circumstances.
I was going to ask you, I mean, I'm not saying that I have the ability to do it, but I was going to offer to at least get involved as another personality that maybe could shed some light on the webpage and like
You're welcome to do whatever you want with it. I was doing it because I have done that in the past and I'm willing to do it. But what I don't want to do is fight with
Yeah.
Paige about it.
Yeah.
That's what Jim was doing. And I was happy to let Jim work out the politics. I'm willing to do the work, but I don't
Okay.
feel like butting heads with Paige.
Why does
Okay.
that have to be a battle?
Okay, well, let's.
Because he does
It
not
doesn't-
want to do his idea of a web page is essentially a static web page with limited availability of information. All he does is post new minutes. He doesn't want an elaborate structure. He doesn't want a nesting of pages that take us to informational sites within the
So
framework.
what I'll do is I'll just look at that. I'll revisit that and see if I can, and then I'll just
I mean, I'm
communicate
willing
with
to
you.
write up all
Yeah.
this stuff, pass it through the committee, but I just lost interest in trying to move forward because he has stonewalled for a year.
Okay. All right, so I'll work on that. Anything else?
Oh, so communication in general, but the web page at the moment is our primary vehicle for communicating to the community. So
Not
that-
only the webpage, we can post things. Like I posted the agenda.
right, okay. I guess I wasn't thinking of that, but then communication in the larger sense, how we communicate what we do to the community and get feedback from the community about our efforts.
So you're looking for feedback.
Well, I mean, if we're going to do things for the community, we probably ought to find out what they think about it.
Okay. So I will look at that as well. Any remaining projects that you think we need to be talking about?
Well,
Yes.
I think we should have a committee on future goals.
Yes, I was just.
Okay.
Because all this is a boilerplate right now.
Right.
We all know what we're gonna do and where we're going. So
I
I think,
agree.
And that's what you were talking about, Dick.
so Dick will be the future goals committee person.
Well,
How much
we
You don't
money
have to
you
come
wanna-
up-
how much
Brought
money
it
do you
up.
wanna spend?
Do you want
That's the
ideas?
question, huh?
I mean, do you want,
Well, it's a question of, once you get beyond what we're doing now, the
Yeah,
whole world changes.
that's okay, we can be world changers.
With $10 million or
Well, I mean,
something,
we
10 million
pose the
for what,
question.
like a,
let's say a battery bank to carry the whole island. I know
Yeah.
how you can do that. I
Mhm.
really do. It's a Tesla bank.
Mhm.
But you gotta do a lot of other stuff. There's gotta be staffing. It's an operational problem, as much as a battery bank for the whole island. And it has to be dispatched by ISO, which is the
right.
group for New England Power Supply Group. We have to be a member of all of that, so there's a lot to do it, but that would be the biggest, this is a residential island, so it's not too difficult to do that. There's only a couple of three-phase loads, and this is one of them, I think.
So could you put together a very brief outline of what that would
It's
be?
already done. I thought it was done about a year ago, because I got the data from Central Maine Power on
Did
it.
we
I
get it?
haven't seen it in any way that I remember. Let's
I
put it
bet
that
I
way.
don't, I did it, and I looked at the numbers.
You came to us and said it wasn't practical now.
Well, it
That's
wasn't
basically.
practical because the money was too big
Mhm.
at that point in history. Now, if things have changed, I can find out very quickly because my son's a senior guy with Green Mountain Power and has done all of this stuff.
Are you
So
talking about being an independent energy source? Is that,
We would be
are
independent.
We
We would sell our excess.
would build
To the
we
Boston
would build
network, for
and
example.
a battery bank capable of handling most of the island, probably all of it. And the battery bank would be dispatched by the utility organization in New England when they needed it, and you get paid for that.
so the
So there's
island
money.
would create that organization?
What's that?
The island would create its own organization to do that?
No, it wouldn't be, well, you'd have to have probably a separate municipal corporation or some such thing, but
Yeah.
you're gonna have to staff it 24 hours a day. I mean, it's a big operation. There's a place to do it. You know,
So-
the airport would be our.
I have a
sensitive.
question. Is there any way we could talk about this particular subject? Like have one meeting where we talk
Yeah,
about it?
I gotta pull my files out and see what I
Yeah.
have. Yeah.
I think with regard to
I was
strategy.
concerned about, we're not a
should talk
utility.
about this. We should develop the idea. We should
Right.
explore it in every way we can.
Sure.
But I don't think we ought to popularize this until we've demonstrated
I
progress
agree
on
with
the
that
things
totally.
we've
I
already
agree
done.
with that
Right.
totally. The only
Yeah.
one who knows that I've even thought of such a thing is the people at this table.
Yeah.
And my son.
I think it ought to stay that way for a while.
Yeah.
You know, I
Okay,
think it should-
John, you
I
can't
think- I
say
agree with you,
anything.
John. I agree with you.
This
I
will
can-
scare
I
the
can-
daylights out of the
I
island.
can think big, all right.
Sorry, Jen.
It's just I don't want to be too big or too long.
I think this is great, but what I was wondering is if each one of us could kind of put together an idea of like, what's our idea of
Our future
sure.
goals.
our think big
Yeah,
Sure,
thing.
Okay.
sure.
Because I have a think big thing that's small, way smaller than that, but it's like, do like what Acadia did. Acadia did a solarized program in Acadia, and they got the companies to come in and give a reduced rate for the solar and heat pumps, and maybe we can start to do that with
Sure.
people on
See,
the
I
island.
So we
proposed
can-
this a year and a half ago.
I know, but we
Sure,
weren't ready for it
sure.
then.
So,
That's
at
why
our-
we had that meeting when we had that session to talk about those broad issues.
So,
But it hasn't become a major form that we've been following.
So at our
We've been
next
so busy
meeting, we're all
doing
gonna
stuff.
bring,
yeah, but I think we're at the point where we can start to think bigger now. I mean,
Okay.
We can, because we got a town meeting here in another week or so.
yeah, well, we'll
Talk
be
about the municipal corporation,
right.
and that's an excellent
That would be a
launching
vehicle
place
for
us.
us.
That's exactly what it's
Yeah.
for.
So I think we're moving to a point where we can start to think
Sure. We could,
outside
that's
the
right.
building.
That's right, that's right.
okay,
So each of us should come up with one or more plans, either independent plans or
Or
dovetail
ideas.
plans, ideas for the future.
Just ideas
Okay.
with some basic
Sure.
outline of how we
Sure.
might do
I
it.
think that's,
I
that's
think
true.
we'd have to talk about it as a group to really,
well, I consider that new business.
oh yes, new business, sorry. I'm flapping my lips instead of typing.
So at the next meeting, you're gonna talk about,
When is the next meeting? I'm gonna,
good question.
A month from now.
I won't be here. I
I
got
can't.
problems, I got projects in Florida I gotta get
So-
to.
Did Jim have a meeting in December? Did he?
I
schedule
Yeah,
have
one?
not
but
looked at
we
the
aren't-
schedule. I
We
don't-
aren't gonna be here when that meeting
Yeah.
was supposed to be.
Yeah, it's a
How-
problem.
leaving
We're
the
supposed to have
18th.
10 a year?
We don't have to have any, we have probably have to have one a year.
Okay,
Yeah, can we make the next one in January?
that's fine with me.
Jim had a habit of doing a year's meetings at a whack.
Right, right, I noticed that.
So might as well start with January.
Okay, so our next meeting is, are Mondays good?
Mondays
CBD.
are good.
Okay, Monday at 5:05.
When is it, the January date? When
I
is
don't
it?
know, we haven't picked that one yet.
Oh no, there's not a calendar.
Wait a minute.
I'll find out. You guys.
Yeah, I
will
can't
decide.
look at my phone because John's on my phone.
The second Tuesday in January.
Second Tuesday in January?
What date is that, Dave?
Hold on a minute, I'm getting a calendar.
Oh.
January, where's
Less than
Doesn't matter.
14.
I'll find it.
what the hell? Calendar.
I
Are-
want to
are we
say
gonna
it's the
dis-
7th, but,
Are we-
There we
or
go.
8th.
July.
Are we gonna
December,
discuss the,
Yeah.
the
Fourth,
proposal
Third
that,
13th.
The second week.
are we gonna discuss the
Second Monday.
All right, hang
electric
on.
vehicle proposal?
Yeah, hang on 1 second. So the next meeting is January 13th, Tuesday at 5:05?
No, that's Monday.
Okay. Do you want to do Monday?
Isn't that,
Isn't today a Monday?
today's a Monday?
Okay.
I mean, am I
Do you-
missing something?
Did you,
No.
I thought we said Monday. Did you change it?
No, I didn't change it. I thought Monday was good, but I heard Tuesday.
Did you say January 13th?
That's a
January
Monday.
13th, that's a Monday.
Okay, at 5:05.
Okay.
Is that good?
So
Doesn't
I
matter.
didn't mean to interrupt. I thought we already decided that. Are we gonna talk about the EV thing?
The EV thing, I did not have that on
Evie,
my,
that's my granddaughter, but not EV.
the electrical vehicle. I did not have that on there, but
You brought
we
that
could-
to show us something, didn't you?
I should let you know it's 10 after 6.
Yeah, we don't
So-
want to go too long.
So we don't want to go too long. The EV,
Well, I can just tell you what, Dave and I went to the select board 2 weeks ago about the solar panel PPA thing. And at that, the select board was interested in the electric vehicle charging station ideas. And they asked us to present something. So that's why Dave and I prepared this.
okay.
I think your idea of, why are we rushing on the transfer station? I think that's reasonable. And I can take the transfer station out of this for now. Just,
Yeah, I didn't see at this point.
no, I think you're
There
right.
was,
I looked for that. Is that posted somewhere?
yeah, she sent us an email. with it.
When? I don't have it.
2 days ago.
Yeah,
I looked for everything you sent, you in the past few days, I don't have it.
Saturday.
Well, I'll send it to you again, but I sent it, I'm pretty sure.
And you
I got it.
gave us, it was a shared document that we could edit.
No,
I
you
must have
you
missed
just gotta-
something, I just didn't see it.
You've just got a plain old email, because I
Okay.
can't always figure out how to get it to share.
Okay. So do you have an iPhone?
How
I
did
do.
this,
Maybe that's one.
I wasn't at the meeting where this happened, so I missed out on it. How did that come about? Were you asked to be?
Yes,
select
I
board.
just said that, Toby.
No, say it again, please.
Dave and I went to the select board meeting when Andrew Carl from Revision was gonna present about this PPA.
Okay, yeah.
And at that, the topic of electric charging for
Came
cars
up.
came up.
Right.
And Arch asked us to give a presentation on recommendations for electric vehicle charging. And what this
Us,
world,
us meaning the committee?
Yes,
or
the committee.
Us meaning you and Dave?
the committee.
But it
Yeah.
never went through the committee.
Hang on.
Well, I did send it to you.
We
That's what this is about.
actually.
No, you announced it.
Hold on,
Let's-
Toby.
let's just-
Okay.
Let's have one conversation.
Let's
Hold
listen
on,
to
Toby.
to what they did.
At the meeting, we went through the PPA, and then I said, by the way, you might have noticed that the lights are brighter at the southern end of the island. And I said, and everybody said, oh, yes. And I said, well, the other things we've been doing in the Energy Committee are solar panels, energy efficiency. And then someone brought up, Marge said, what about EV charging? And Gabe said, yeah, what about EV charging? And then someone said, and then we said, well, we're working on it. And Art said, well, could you walk us through that?
Because he didn't understand
Right.
how it
And
worked.
that's what this document is. This is in response to his walking them through the process of placing and selecting EV charging stations.
Okay.
So I think this is great, but your point is well taken. I didn't know this until right now.
Right.
Okay, so I have no problem with it at all. I'm happy you did it, but I didn't know you were doing it.
Well, I have some problems, and the problems rest in my not being part of the discussion. And the other part is making some suppositions and some sort of foregone conclusions that the committee didn't agree with as a whole. So we haven't approved this as a committee, and I don't think that's appropriate.
Well, that's why
Because you guys
That's
are
why it's here,
representative.
isn't it?
that's why we brought it here tonight, Toby. This is rather quick. I agree.
This
It's
is new
quick.
business.
This is new business.
Why does it have to be so fast? Why can't we take more time with it?
Well, why would we take more time if we can do it fast? I mean, why waste time?
We're not creating anything.
This is for discussion, correct?
This is for discussion, yeah.
Right.
Well, there
Yes.
are some ideas in here that we put as recommendations. So if we don't want to do that, I can change this document. This is a draft. This is not.
Well, my problem is two things. One, working through it and discussing it thoroughly. And the second is making a unified proposal that will work effectively for what we want to get done.
So,
Toby, you
we
sent me an email today that said it was a good job and you didn't see any problem with it. You read it.
I didn't say there was no problem with it. I said, good work.
I didn't see the
It
email.
was a great effort.
So look, it doesn't matter. We will
Well, I
talk
guess
about
I-
it tonight, and if there are things that you don't like, then we will talk about editing them. I mean, I haven't even
So-
seen it yet.
So Toby, if you said it was good work, what did you think of it?
I thought it was a great effort. That's what I meant. They
Okay.
put a lot of time and effort into this thing.
So what don't you agree about? What you saw?
I don't think the police vehicle belongs in the document.
Why not? It's a
It's
major
gonna be-
vehicle of the town.
Yeah.
That was
Yes.
another point, that I made a proclamation at the town meeting. And I said to Arch, how do I make a proclamation
Right.
that the next vehicle purchased by the town should be an electric or hybrid vehicle?
So you did
He
that.
said, you just did, Dave.
So you did this as a
That's why-
citizen of
He
the town,
did,
right?
you did that as a citizen,
Right.
not as a
Right.
member of the
Yeah,
energy
And that's
committee.
why it's in the document.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that,
Well, because we want to move the town toward using electric vehicles.
But you did that as a private citizen, not as a member of,
Right, he
This
has every
committee.
right to do that, right? And so
Well,
now
so-
we're trying to codify this through the committee.
that's correct.
Okay, so
okay.
So my thought is, I would like it to be done more deliberately and go
But
through
then let's
point by
deliberate.
point and decide what
There's
things we
100
want to keep
technical
and what
issues
things we
here,
don't.
ladies
Yeah,
and
this is a
gentlemen.
huge
There's a lot
document.
of technical issues.
I think
Well, those should be
when,
discussed by the committee. That's
And
what we're here
This
for.
is not a criticism of either Dave or Janice. And my point, when I sent you the email, was you guys put a huge amount of effort into it. You did a great job on it. There's no question. But it didn't go through the committee.
So
can I
we're,
ask a question?
We're going through the committee
right now,
anyway.
if we ever get to it.
So they asked you to present this to them at a certain date?
Yes, but we can ask to put it off to the future.
That's what I think we should do, just put it
That's
off so
fine.
that we can discuss it in
We can do
January.
that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of issues
Do I
here.
have to make a motion?
Yes, please.
So I motion, how do I do this?
You move.
I move that there is a motion that we delay presentation of this report until we have a chance to look at it in
Well, I
January.
would say until we're ready to present it. Because
Well, there's a
I
lot
don't
of
know how long
discussions
that's
to be
gonna
had.
take.
Wait,
Toby?
so may I ask something first? I don't know this at all. Does this have a date built into it by when it's supposed to be presented to somebody?
Well, they wanted us to present it Wednesday, but we can say the committee's still working through it and let's
Okay.
put it off.
I-
Janet won't care.
I would
Janet
say
won't
that,
care.
yeah, I would say definitely let's put
I
it.
mean, I can read it between now and Wednesday. I can give you feedback on it.
If they just wanted it, they picked the date. But we can ask them to change the date. There's no problem with that.
Okay, so
That makes me feel more comfortable.
What was the motion?
the motion was that we delay presenting anything to the Board of Selectmen on their request for information on charging stations until we have a chance to review it. Does that make sense?
I'll
Yes,
second
okay.
that.
All right, all in favor? Any discussion? Any discussion?
What is the mechanism for the discussion?
What do you
Ooh,
mean?
good
How
question.
are we going to discuss it?
Because our next meeting is January 13th. That's your point, right?
That's all right.
So we can get
I,
together again.
I would like to get together and just basically go through it. Not because I don't think you guys did a great job or you didn't do a great job, but
No,
I just,
I'm saying, how are we going to do that?
What process?
Right.
Well, I think everybody, that's my opinion, is everybody should take a careful look at it and decide exactly which things each of us thinks should remain, which things should be changed, what our approach should be. I think we're, to some degree, putting the cart before the horse and we're throwing out stuff.
so
that
Toby,
can't
are
be
you gonna go home
validated.
and print this out and read it so that you're ready? Are you gonna print this out and read it and make notes on it so that you're ready?
Like this?
Say yes.
The document?
Yes, the document.
I will make suggestions on the changes that I think are appropriate, if
Okay,
if
and then we'll-
everybody's willing to do that. But I think we all should do that.
Okay,
And again, it's not a criticism
no,
of
What I'm-
what either of these
Okay, I'm
people have
sorry.
committed.
I'm questioning the mechanism for discussion. Are we going to have a December meeting, or are we going to have
Okay.
just solely discuss it at the January meeting present to the Board of Selectmen in February, or
Oh, I
what's
see.
the mechanism?
Whatever
Okay,
it
then.
takes.
What Jim did frequently when we had issues like this to deal with is that we had unofficial meetings where we got together and we talked. I found those, I didn't know that those were illegal, that those weren't appropriate, okay? But they worked great.
They did.
So I propose we do something like that. We get together and we have a cabal behind a curtain somewhere, whatever it takes, and we just hash out the details of this and then we move forward.
okay,
I
good.
disagree. I don't like those informal meetings because there are no notes taken. There's nothing to report from those meetings.
Okay,
I think the discussion should be done at the meeting level, not at someone's home or behind closed doors.
can I just say, I want to make one comment. I read through this and my only issue with it was having a charging station at the transfer station. I don't have any other problem with what was in here. So I would not participate in any type of meeting where we would go through that again, because I think I wrote to you already about what my impression of it was. Unless somebody else, and I might be doing this incorrectly, but I would say unless somebody else has a definite issue with it, I don't see what the problem is.
Can I just give you a brief idea of how we came up with these recommendations?
Sure.
Can you read the recommendations, please?
Well, let me just say how we came up with it first, and then I'll read them. So, when most people think of electric charging, they think of these kind of little, the chargers that you see like in Belfast or at the Hannaford. But you actually do not need an expensive level 2 charger. You can actually charge electric vehicles without difficulty with the level 1 charger, which is just a plug in the wall.
Yeah.
And there are actually these outlet breaker boxes that Scott Sinkowitz recommended when Dave talked to him. That is a weatherized box that has a 240 volt plug and a couple of 120 volt plugs that can be used with the equipment that an electric vehicle has. They have an electric vehicle has a charging cord with an adapter, and they can go into these plugs without needing this fancy equipment. And the reason we thought that this would be a good way to start is because it's relatively inexpensive. There aren't a lot of electric vehicles that are coming over here. There's not a huge demand for electric vehicles. This would get us started. The 220 volt plug, once it's in the wall, can be used for a future one of these larger level 2 chargers. And Scott can put a usage meter onto this thing so we can get data on how much electricity the town's actually giving away for free. And that way they can decide later if it's worthwhile buying a more expensive piece of equipment that would allow the town to to make people pay through credit cards, or whether it's, we're getting enough excess solar from the solar panels with everything else we're doing that the town can afford to give it away for free. And then we went through ideas on where you might put these places, and the criteria for where you would need to put them: there has to be an easy source of electricity, there has to be parking, it has to be accessible to a large number of people. So right now the town hall is the most obvious place. Grindle Point, we suggested after discussion with Gabe and with Peggy Pike that Gabe really wants Grindle Point. Peggy Pike's freaking out because of the parking. So we're like, we just recommended that it's worthwhile taking time to figure out how to put this at Grindle Point, but we shouldn't just rush into it. We need to get input from the public, and we need to hear from other groups like the parking committee is what Janet suggested. And then we also need to be talking to the state, because maybe the state has new outlooks on renewable energy. So maybe the state will put stuff at so the three recommendations are: just start with this outdoor breaker box with the level 1 plugs and the level 2 plugs, because that will be adequate to charge anybody that's got an electric vehicle now.
And if I understand it correctly, they can just plug it into an outdoor outlet, right?
Exactly.
You don't even need
Nope.
Who pays?
whoever has the outlet, whoever owns the outlet.
Okay, so it could be the town if the
It
town.
would be the town, and part of this has a discussion on ways they could get this paid for if they don't want to pay for it. But right now, it would be relatively inexpensive equipment
Sure.
that can be used for a future upgrade to bigger equipment if need be. And then it's trickle charge or level 1, so that means that the town is not going to be paying a lot of money if they are dishing out, because it goes so slow you can't do that many cars a day.
Yeah.
That's one page of writing, what you just said, in terms of the summary of the main points that you wanted to make, plus,
Okay, so what's your point, Toby?
I mean, you went through such a long, involved discussion of why you thought the electric charging stations should happen and how they could happen. Why not make the points first? Start with those and then discuss them later.
Because I'm trying to explain to the committee how we came up with these recommendations.
You can do that.
She just
She
did.
just
I
did.
just did.
And it was quite clear.
Yeah.
That's not what the document says.
Yes.
It's what you said.
The document starts with the recommendations. Have you seen the document?
You read it, Toby.
What's the,
Toby, I haven't read it and I understand what's in there.
could you
Oh, I
read the
understand it
document
too.
to us? Could
The
you read
only
the
question I
document to
have
us?
is, do you have any figures on the demand and energy?
Not yet.
That
No,
electric-
because
How
that-
much power does an electric car consume overnight, for example?
Oh, yeah, we've got that.
That's, a couple of things like that, and I'll tell you the answer to your question.
Well,
We don't
are you
need Toby to
At a
question it.
level 2.
Yeah.
It consumes.
No, I don't think that's what I
Hold
meant.
on, I want to hear
at
what
all.
Dave has to say.
It
Hold on.
consumes,
Toby.
at a level 2 consumes $1.20 per hour.
Do you have any idea of the energy use that would, kilowatt hours or anything like the dollar,
5 kilowatt hours.
something like that? That's not much. That's
Nope.
peanuts. It's
Nope.
peanuts.
Exactly,
It's peanuts.
exactly.
And
That's the
240 volt or 110?
110.
The 110 or 120 volt would be, it would be like 5
I'm
kilowatt
not even
hours.
sure it matters anymore.
It's
Pick up
very,
the hardy station, put it right out here in the parking lot where people can do it and see what
it's
happens.
Yeah.
very low to start with, because that'll give us an idea,
Sure.
that'll give us an idea of what the demand is.
You're not talking
Yeah,
a lot
that's
of
the
money.
impression I
No,
got.
we're not talking a lot of money.
This
And-
sounds like a very well thought out proposal.
Yes.
I just like
Because
to
you're gonna
read it.
have
Yeah.
extra power left over from the service comes in.
Sure,
the
John.
building Anyway, I might as well put it over there in the parking.
I guess my.
John,
Just-
wait.
What?
John?
Because of just not sure where things are, would it be at the transfer station because that's where the salt shed solar install would be?
Well, that was one of the places, and right now, the likelihood of an electric vehicle needing charging up at that end is pretty low, but that, you can do this in sequence. We could do the town hall, we could do the transfer station eventually, we could, and then work out Grindle Point, because Grindle Point's gonna be the sticking point. Some people are gonna freak out
Yeah.
about overnight parking
You
or,
might have a dozen cars there in the future, you could have
right,
quite
in
a
the
few.
future.
Sure.
But that's it. We're talking about the future.
Well, the,
And any thought about the ITC, when people kind of go there and it's like.
Well-
Yeah, I was thinking that too. What about
Well-
the school too?
Well, the schools, I would love to present this at the school, but that would have to be separate from this committee.
this,
The ICC is a private organization, so we can't tell them what to do.
this committee is charged dealing with municipal problems, not ICC and not the school. The school has been very, has isolated itself with respect to this committee. That's a polite way of saying it, John. So,
I'll try to stop that.
so that would be very appreciated by the committee, but
The school's isolation is behavioral pattern, but the school is a municipal function. So we
Okay.
do have,
Well, they
think
have
we
their
could
own
break
budget.
through
They
it.
control their own budget.
You could break through that if you had to.
right,
Hold
exactly.
on.
Could I go back to one initial
Wait.
question?
Wait, no. John,
What?
Dave was talking.
no, I don't want to talk.
What I want to ask is, why do we need charging stations in Islesboro? Nobody has answered that question.
What?
Okay?
Why?
They
Trying
did. It
to
was right
move
in there.
people
This was a request by
Why?
Art.
That's
Why
not a
install,
reason.
why install charging stations on Islesboro? Section E1, under rationale, what we considered in making our recommendations. You read it.
Did you read the document?
But that doesn't explain why we need them.
It
Because
does.
there's electric cars in the future.
What did you write, Janice?
I said, the select board and residents of the island have expressed a willingness to move forward with clean renewable energy as evidenced by the solar panels on town hall.
That does not say
Well, I'm not done yet.
charging stations.
Let her finish.
Oh, Toby, come
Toby, you gotta let people
Okay, I'm
finish.
gonna skip some of it and go right to the point. The biggest reason to encourage EV use on island is to make use of the solar energy we generate with our solar panels. It's a way to move our island forward. Oops, there's a typo. Toward an energy independent future and to potentially save taxpayers money on transportation with energy from our solar panels.
Saving
not to pollute.
taxpayer money.
That isn't based on vehicles at all. See, my point
What
would be,
what
why,
is your point? I don't
What?
understand.
my point is, why do you need it? Because nobody has established yet that they want it for their electric vehicles because nobody uses it.
We're proposing
The
that they have an
police-
electric
the-
vehicle.
the
That's why
police-
number 3 is there.
Tell
The
me what
police-
it says.
I'm
It
sorry,
says,
The police,
can I interrupt?
yes.
Sure.
The police chief encouraged us to get a non-electric, gasoline car.
That's great.
So
That's the
we
reason-
will
that's
need
one of
a
the
place
reasons.
to charge
So the
it.
town will have an electric vehicle. The
That's the
town
one,
needs to
that's the one
charge.
thing I think is absolutely right, is that we do need an electric police vehicle.
Going
Okay,
in
so
circles here.
let's,
Yep.
let's,
No. No question.
So does that justify the charging station?
For that vehicle, yes.
okay, and that would be here.
Sure, right in front of
That's
the
what it
police, why
says
would he park his
here.
car?
But that does not solve the public need. There is no public need that I can see.
It's
There
kind
is.
of just like the bus. If it
Where?
ain't there, you can't use
No,
it.
no, there is a public need because the public vehicle
Everybody
needs it.
charges at home.
Visitors might not.
No,
Might not.
I
See,
see,
that's
hang
my
on one
point.
second. I have seen electric vehicles come onto this
Yeah,
island.
they happen,
They
sure.
would stay if there was a place to charge,
How do you know that?
because I've talked to the people in the line.
It's-
What have they said?
They said there's no place to charge their vehicle.
See, that's something that I didn't know.
Okay,
Well, it's
We need
now
that.
you know.
We need that.
been several
Yeah.
of them, I've seen them
But
myself.
that's how many people?
I don't know. I wasn't
Doesn't
counting
matter,
at the
they're all,
time.
they're all
Toby, this
piling
costs,
on.
I tell you what, the proposal says, if we set this up, we'll have a meter. We will know how many people use the setup, and then we'll have data.
Yep.
And it will be an inexpensive way to serve a need and collect data at the same time.
and it
of-
costs less than $500.
the Cost of
Yay.
entry
Toby?
is low.
Why did we put solar panels on this building?
To provide clean renewable energy to power the island municipally.
What about an electric vehicle? How are we gonna power that?
Say that again?
Say it again.
It's analogous to the charging station. Why put solar panels up there? Because we want renewable resources. Why do we put a charging station? So people don't use gas. Does that make sense?
Will that happen?
With
Well,
the
if it
police
starts
car,
with a
it
police
will.
car, if it starts with a police car,
It's
Yeah.
the beginning, it's
See,
the beginning.
my point would be, you're putting the cart before the horse because you haven't demonstrated that it
I gotta
works.
go home.
And
Yeah, yeah, I,
wait a minute, if you do the police vehicle, you've got a way of proving its benefit, and it goes
the
directly
town
to
is
town
interested in the
use.
police vehicle.
But 5 minutes ago, you said we didn't need the police vehicle in the recommendations.
We don't, we need it in a separate recommendation.
all right.
All right. I think it's time to
I've
adjourn.
heard enough. I think we're done with new business at this point.
Oh, we have to
And-
vote. There was a motion on the table that we
Yeah,
didn't
we
vote.
have to vote. You second it?
He seconded,
Oh.
aye.
May I,
Vote to postpone the,
have we had sufficient discussion?
I
No, I
think
don't think
so.
so.
Okay.
I called the
I think
question.
so.
I mean, discussion regarding the document, not among,
I think we've had enough discussion.
Well,
the
I
document.
say, I'll make sure you get a copy. Did you
Yeah.
get a copy? Did you get a
I
copy?
think
of
I
it?
got it. If you
Just
didn't
give
leave-
Bill
if
that
you
copy.
emailed it, I got a copy.
Yeah, I'm willing to,
So
Bill, I'll give you my
take,
copy.
take time and look at it, and if there's things you think need to be changed, then let's
We
come.
still have time.
We still have time.
so we have the motion that we're delaying. I thought that's what we were
Right,
voting
we're
on.
voting
We
on
were.
We already
delaying.
voted for that.
We haven't voted for it yet
We have
No, we
figure
were
out.
gonna vote for it.
because we stopped to have a discussion on it. So
Right.
we are still voting on the delay, which I still think is a good idea.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm fine
So
with that.
too.
I'm fine with that.
So are we voting for that?
We are.
Yep.
Motion is carried. We're delaying.
All right.
Thank you.
Question, can we handle this by email now? If I have any suggestions, you can edit this and then we can propose to the select board that we have an alternative meeting time to,
Dave?
this is a recurring problem, getting back to communications. This is a Google document. Does
Everyone can
everybody
edit.
have Google, does everybody use Google documents?
I gave everyone access.
I'm asking a question.
I
Does
have
every-
Google Docs.
Does
Yes.
everybody know how to edit Google Doc?
I know how to edit Google Docs. Does everybody else know how to edit Google
I'm not
Docs?
sure, but
I'm
I'm
not
not
sure
sure
what you
either.
mean, but I get them all the time.
You do, John.
Well,
Good.
then I think we should have a tutorial at the
Okay.
next meeting on how to edit Google Docs, because that would be very easy to do.
Okay,
Okay,
You-
Google Doc.
all
Did you
right.
send this to me as a Google Doc or is it available as a Google?
It's
a
available.
Google Doc now?
We
It's-
might be able to send it to you as a Google
If you
Doc.
do, I will see if I can edit it. If I can, then I'll tell you right away.
All right. So
But I
next,
do think we need discussion on some of the points. And
all right, but not now.
Not
Not
now.
now.
Dinner now.
Yes.
That's right.
It's-
I know that
I-
I'm gonna be kicked out of the house if I'm not careful. I gotta get home right
Okay.
now.
So
This is-
do we just adjourn or do we have to do a process
I
to adjourn?
move that we adjourn.
I have a motion to
Well,
adjourn.
wait a minute. So why don't we say, I'll just ask Janet to cancel us out for Wednesday.
Okay.
And once we have this approved after our next meeting, then we can set up a time.
Yes.
Does that work for everybody?
Yeah,
That
I would say
works.
Absolutely.
postpone.
Okay.
Whatever.
So
Doesn't matter,
I'm,
it's just a word.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Second,
Okay. Any discussion?
grumble, grumble.
Motion is passed to adjourn. Thank you, John.
Thank you very much.
What a great first meeting, John.
Hey,
Oh,
John, welcome
actually-
aboard.
Do we have to,
What?
how do we get John as a member? Has he been approved by the select board already?
No.
No. Would you
So-
like to be a member, John?
I would, yes.
Okay.
You have to vote on that?
What a glutton for punishment.
Wait a minute.
The most important thing.
We're
is
supposed to
deliver-
invite you
All
for
right.
an interview.
deliver-
All right, John. So I will text you later about this, maybe tomorrow, okay?
That sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John.
So I'm taking as my task to get a hold of
Bye.
Brian.
Janet,
That's
Janice, I'm sorry
And you're
if I
gonna tell me
upset you.
about the.
Well, Toby, you go in circles with things.
Yeah,
and-
I think I
the
might be,
information
I
you
don't
send
know if
back
I'll
is
make it
not
in the future,
useful.
but I might have
If
an
you tell
inside
somebody
track
it's
on it.
good, that
I'm
implies
sorry,
that you
is
don't
this
have
into
any
this
objection
article?
Say it
to
again.
I
it.
might
No,
have an
no, I
inside
If you had
track
objection
on
to it, you should have said something in your
I
email.
never
The webpage.
said
Yes.
I didn't have concerns. I said you did a great job. They're not the same, Janice. They
Toby,
never are the same. Don't make assumptions